Okay, now let's continue the brief introduction about Kubernetes. For beginners, I think this deployment is the important workload management, and it's usually the entry point for using the Kubernetes. So deployment and indirectly replica set. Okay, here let me just quickly introduce a concept that for replica set, that means in Kubernetes, whenever we create a service, it also associated with something called replica set. So it's a set structure for holding some items. And just consider replica set is a collection of parts, collection of parts for providing each part satisfies the functionality of the service. It's called replica. That means you may consider they are identical from the service level. They are different instances for providing the computation resource. However, the computation logic provides the same service. So by default, when we make a deployment, actually we create a replica set. Even you just create one instance, one part for the service, the replica set will be also created, and there's only one instance. Later, you can scale up by increasing the number of replicas, or later you can decrease or shrink the replica set by setting the replicas to a lower number. Okay, so let's focus on the deployment. What's the deployment? Manages a set of parts to run an application workload, usually one that doesn't maintain state. Doesn't maintain state. That's why we associate with, by default, we associate with replica set. If it keeps state, that means for the request, it's state dependent. We cannot choose any one of the part. We need to find a specific part that satisfies the state. That's a complicated issue. So let's just consider the stateless service. Okay, now the use case, create deployment to roll out a replica set, declare new state of the pod, and so forth. So creating a deployment. Let's see, this is an example. Again, a API version kind. This time we define an object, deployment object. And then the deployment object has the name Nginx deployment. It has the label. For labels, they are key value pairs. So later we may match some object based on the label. So here the label app is Nginx. So this deployment has a property called app Nginx. Now, spec. The specification of the deployment object, we specify that when start this deployment, we have three replicas. We have three replicas, and then the selector. The selector means because it is associated with the replica set, so which part should be selected into the replica set is critical, and this is the purpose for selector. The selector specifies that we use the rule match labels and app engine X. That means if a pod has a label app engine X, then it will be included to the replica. And also, here template, the template keyword means we start the pod. This is the pod template, and it's metadata with app engine X for matching, and for the pod, its specification is that it has one container. Its name is engine X, image engine X 1.14.2, and the port is 80. Container port 80 implies target port 80. So this is the deployment, and this is called the manifest. So in this example, deployment name, this one is created, indicate the metadata name field, and deployment create replica set. The selector defines how the created replica set finds which pod to manage. And then template contains the following subfield. The pods are labeled. So the template is the pod template. The pod template specification, and create one container and name it engine X. So later we may apply. So I think this is an important. This is a simple example. Maybe we can demonstrate the deployment in our demonstration environment. So please wait a few seconds so that I can start the demonstration. So now I think we can switch to the demo mode, and here we have the terminal. Maybe let me see if I can directly copy. So let's go to concepts and workloads. So management, deployment. So here is think it's not easy to paste into the PUTTY, so I need to copy. Okay, so okay, so okay, so there is an error. The label, okay, here. Okay, so now it is deployed, and we could see. Okay, let's just follow the instruction. So if we examine the deployments, right, kubectl get deployments. Hey, you will see that here is a deployment, Nginx deployment, and there are 3 replicas, up to date 3, available 3. So this is about the Git deployments. And we can examine the replicas by examining, again, kubectl git to get the properties and use rs. So this is the replica set, and desired 3, current 3, ready 3. And we may also examine the paths and also show labels. So you could see that here we have 3 paths running and the related label app Nginx. Okay, so this is a very simple approach for using the deployment, and we fetch the image from public registry. And here I would like to demonstrate micro K8s CTO. I can scale deployments. We can scale our I think we can so here we use the scale and scale the deployments. For Nginx deployment, its replicas is 5. Let's see, to git rs. You will see that now we have 5 instances of the pods. So this is how to scale. We can scale, of course, scale up or scale down. So here now we have only 1 pod for this deployment. So this part, we talk about how to use the deployment, and let's quickly review the syntax for deployment manifest. We need to specify the metadata of the deployment. In the spec, we specify how many replicas we need and how to select the paths into the replica set. For the template part, this is the pod specification. We don't need to, of course, we can use a separate pod specification, just like something like the deployment object. However, by using this syntax, a corresponding pod object will be created based on the template. So this is the pod template. We create a pod object and its label is Nginx, and for the pod we run the Nginx container at port 80, and the label is Nginx, so that the pods will be selected into the replica set.